Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Silver Silk and More channel. Today, we are graduating from basic design to something truly special with the Blossom Academy earrings. And might I add that you will definitely receive top honors for your earring looks whenever you decide to wear these little beauties out. Real quick, I'm going to cover how to make the frame using SilverSilk Pipe Chain, which is an awesome Silver Silk product just due to its versatility and all of the amazing ways that you can craft with it. I'm going to do a little cover on simple loops. I know that they're always a little bit daunting, especially for the newer jewelry maker. And so it's always good to cover some of the basics. And then finally, we are going to embellish these beauties with beads, specifically the frames that we're going to be making. So much fun to do. I'm going to be using beads from Jesse James Beads, which I will flip my camera and show you guys all of the fun stuff there. And it's just going to be so much fun to put together. And then, real quick, if you enjoy seeing the content on this channel, make sure to give this channel some love by tapping that like button and giving this video a big thumbs up. Make sure to also share this video with your creative friends and subscribe to the channel. All of these things are so important for the health of the channel. And quite honestly, it just lets me know to keep those tutorials rolling and just to bring more inspiration to you guys. So I'm actually going to go ahead and flip my camera down. We're going to cover the tools, the materials needed for this project, and then just put it all together in the best way. So let me show you a picture of the project real quick before I get started. These are those earrings that I am talking about, and how fabulous are these? Again, they are made with Jesse James Beads components and the pipe chain, and really easy. You're going to be hooked on this technique. I promise you that. Alrighty, let's get started with the tools first. So here I've got a pair of nylon jaw pliers. This is going to be used for straightening out the wire, which I'll be using and showing you guys here in a little bit. Typically, I'd have a list of materials off to the right side of this video. I don't today, but if you are interested in recreating this project, you can definitely check out the video description or hit up silversilkonline.com and find the materials there. Again, I'm using nylon jaw pliers from Weber's, so have a pair of those out. In the same vein, I'm going to be using some chain nose pliers and round nose pliers to make simple loops. You will also need a pair of cutters. And these are just some general craft wire cutters from Lindstrom. I've used these to cut all kinds of things, as I like to say in my videos. But today we'll be just cutting the pipe chain as well as the craft wire. So that covers the tools. And let's get over to the materials. First, you'll need a piece of 20 gauge craft wire. Now, I'm going to be showing you a singular earring because I've got one earring already put together. And so whenever I talk about these materials, just make sure to double up on them because you'll need two earrings, or probably will want to wear two earrings. And if you don't, that's fine. The one earring always works. In some cases, you can also wear this as a pendant. And so that's another way to think about it. But yeah, so just double up on the materials. But here for a single earring, you'll need about 3.5 to 4 inches of 20 gauge craft wire. I grabbed mine from Softflex Company in this gold plating, absolutely stunning and works perfect with the chain color. And speaking of, I've got some SilverSilk Pipe Chain. This is a custom color for Jesse James Beads. And their theme this particular time around for their mystery box is Stay Golden. And like, how perfect is this combination? I'm going to be talking about the beads and showing you that here very shortly, actually. So let me save that for the side real quick and just talk about pipe chain for a split second. It is a silicone tubing that has a hole that's about 1.5 millimeters in diameter, which really just means that you can fill it with craft wire, beading wire, leather cord, anything that's around 1 millimeter in size that you can fit through the pipe chain. Even memory wire works really well. And so that's what makes it versatile and fun to craft with. And over that tubing has the knitted technology directly applied on top of it. So you get this really cool metallic luster sheen that has that intricate knitting on top, really making this a brilliant and I think a high-end material, especially. And it comes in a variety of colors. There are about 10 base colors. And then over on the Silver Silk shop, I like to do custom creations in my pop-up shop, which really means that depending on the theme, I'll put together these wild colors and just do a short run of them and then advertise them to my customers. Which, if you're not on the text list or the email list, I definitely encourage you to get on there, which you can find on the homepage of silversilkonline.com. The reason for that is these folks are the first to know about the creations, and trust me when I say they like to snag this up pretty quick. Um, for this earring, you'll need about a 2.5 to 3 inch length. It really just depends on how long you want your little rainbow arch to be. This one's going to be a pretty small size, as you can see, probably about 1.5 inch max by the time it's all folded. And you do want it to stagger after you've sort of put the wire through it and created your frame. But again, a 2.5 inch to 3 inch length will get you definitely mostly all there. Um, You'll also need some end caps, which look like this. These are from Silver Silk, and there's quite a few different types of cones or other types of end caps out there that you can use. I really particularly love using the custom made Silver Silk ones. They've got 5 layers of plating on it, which means that it's going to be very tarnish resistant. It also has, which I can hold here, my Silver Silk imprint on it, which means that these are the original custom made ones from Silver Silk and more. And again, they were custom made to fit directly over the pipe chain, just giving it a brilliant finish at the end. And so just have a couple of those out. Put my stuff here off to the side. Now, the best part, talking about the beads, right? Stay Golden, which is the current theme for the Jesse James Beads box. This is a subscription service for a bead box. And trust me when I say you get a ton of things in this. And let's just take a look at a few of the bead strands and components here. This one's Merry Mushroom. So it really leans into the whole 70s vibe, doesn't it? With the psychedelic and I don't know, the music scene. But the strands sort of match the vibe. And so these are really fun to string on directly or cut up as you wish. The beads are meant to be set free and crafted with. This one's Avocado Shag, which kind of gives that shag rug vibe, which, by the way, I do have 2 custom colors for this particular run. This particular box, the shag rug and that 70s pipe chain, which again, you can check out on silversilkonline.com. And then, there's just like different mixed bags of things. This one's Crazy Daisy and just has quite a lovely mixture of different beads and textures that sort of, again, lean into that whole 70s Stay Golden vibe. I'll show you one more. This one's Harvest Gold, which is spacers and all kinds of little extra things that you can use to embellish your design. So that can all be found on justcjamesbeads.com. But for today, we are going to dig in one of those components and use this acrylic rose, as well as some of their fun head pins that have the flowers on it, hence the name Blossom Academy. So you'll need one of these acrylic large beads. This is probably about 1 inch long. And then you'll need 3 of these really highly decorative flower head pins, which I kind of have set out here to the side. I'm going to show you how to make the simple loop on one of them. And you'll need all 3 of them so we can stagger them into the earring. And finally, we will just need an earring wire as well as a 6mm inner diameter jump ring. All right, let's put this together because this will be like the quickest and funnest project, I think. Let's just go ahead and dive right into our craft wire and our knitted wire and our end caps. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to string this right into the Silver Silk pipe chain as such. Whenever you cut the pipe chain, you'll occasionally get these little wire little pieces at the end, these wire splinters, if you will. What I do is I grab my chain nose pliers and I just pluck those off to the best of my ability. The reason you want to do that and clean up the ends is that these tend to kind of stick out and look messy if you're putting on your cord end or end cap. And the last thing we want to do is make it look like it's haphazardly put together. And so a really professional finish is those little detailed touches. This one especially had quite a few at the end. Here we go. All right. And then just pinch it together. That should do quite well. As you can see, it's nice and cleaned up on both sides. On both sides. I must have done well to clean up one side. And at this point, I am going to string on one of the end caps on one side. And I should do the other, but what I'm going to do is take a shortcut here, and I'm going to go ahead and string on one of my jump rings. Well, actually, the only jump ring that you'll need for this one side. And the reason for that is that I don't have to do it later, which is always great for a shortcut, right? But also, all I have to do now is just fit my earring wire through that and call it good. So I'm just going to leave that right on there. We'll create the simple loop on one end and then just sort of push everything down to the other side. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and bend my wire, and I'm going to measure about a 1/2 inch to start with. I don't want these loops to be gigantic. Probably, I would say a fair medium size, if you will, which really just means that I'm going to be 1/3 into my plier here. But go ahead, after you bend it, stick it into your plier, just like that. You want to make sure that it's very flush at the top and not sticking out. When you know it's sticking out, you'll be able to run your finger through it and you'll be able to feel like that's poking out. And that's the last thing you want. You want this to be a smooth, nice round loop. So there we go. And now I'm just going to roll it back toward me. If you need to pick up your plier and start over, you can absolutely do that. Now, I've gotten about halfway in and it looks like my loop is pretty lopsided. What this means is that that wire that was sticking out was too long. And so all you have to do is just go back and trim it just a little bit at a time until you're able to roll the whole thing in. Okay, just like that. Go ahead and go back into your plier and continue rolling. And you should see that that loop kind of just sits really nicely on top. There it is. If I pull that end cap back, nice and round. So now I'm going to just push everything to, I was going to say pull, and then it just sounded like I blended the words. I'm going to push everything down right into that end cap so that that looks nice and symmetrical. And we're going to repeat the same thing to the other side. All right, so stick that in right over that pipe chain. Get my cups out here out of the way. And I'm going to grasp the top of that wire that's right over the end cap, and I'm just going to try and pull that right down so that it's sort of sitting right on my end cap there. It's a little hard to do. Luckily, the actual pipe chain has some elasticity to it. So even if you push it down a little extra, it's going to kind of then expand out after you're done bending that wire, which means that you just have tension right into that end cap there. And everything is going to sit nice and perfect. So this looks a little bit long to me. I'm just going to trim it back a little bit to get myself started. And we are going to now go ahead and roll it back. Okay, it's definitely long. So let's go ahead and start trimming that off. I'm going to go about this much. If you trim the amount of wire that you have left to roll in off, then you should be around that same distance and point to where you can safely roll that into place. I will say simple loops, despite the name, can be challenging. And so I encourage just using leftover wire from projects to practice over and over. I've taught this to my students in the past who have had a lot of trouble with just simple loops. And so grab that craft wire spool. Craft wire is very cheap. And just keep practicing because I know that with a little bit of practice, persistence, and just repetition, it's going to be easy to do over and over again. I've been doing simple loops for, gosh, since I've started doing jewelry making for almost 20 years now. And I will still mess these up, believe it or not. But take it slow, take a breather, and just do the best that you can. And, it is craft wire at the end of the day. Lop it off if it looks ugly and just take some more out and do it again. You do not want to mess up your craft wire on these simpler projects because it tends to look unprofessional. And with as less amount of technique that's visible in your design, if you mess something up, it's going to amplify what you're looking at like times 10 because it can't be hidden behind anything. And so having those little details, the little perfect loops and everything just adds to the high endness of the piece. Is that a word? I don't know if that's a word or not, but anyway. All right, so I have bent my little component, as I mentioned earlier, that we would learn into this beautiful U shape. Kind of looks like a rainbow, kind of looks like a horseshoe. It could be a number of things, right? So now it's a matter of making sure that my loops face the same direction, in which the example has it to where I've got them kind of parallel to each other. As you can see, the loop isn't facing forward, it is on its side. So that is something that we'll want to go ahead and position. All right, that looks really good. And if I turn it to side profile, you could see that my loops are just ready to be embellished. So let's go ahead and work on that. I feel like I had a head pin here for my rose, but I don't think I do. So I'm gonna actually grab that real quick as I am talking through this, because you will need a head pin for your embellishments. And let's see. Okay, I'm gonna grab, found it. I'm back. I'm gonna grab a head pin and I'm going to string it up through my little rose acrylic component. And we're gonna basically do the same thing again. Just go ahead and fold that right down. And I just used my fingers this time. I would have done that with the pipe chain, but the pipe chain is a little bit soft, and so using your fingers was just not going to work. But with these, harder bead components, it's much easier to do. Go ahead and lop off half of that stem, and then go into your pliers and roll that simple loop. Apparently, I got it right on the first time, which sometimes doesn't always happen. But since we've practiced, I think we're getting better and better. To open it, all you do is grab that little end that you rolled over and then push it up toward you. You don't want to spread it out because that will ruin the round shape. Better to just, kind of take it in a more conservative manner here, lift it up, and then bend it back down toward the stem. And that will attach our first component. And now we are going to basically repeat the same thing, but with our flower stems, which I have a couple that I've cut already. So I'm going to show you how to do one, and then we'll attach everything together from there. You want to lay your flowers out to where they're all staggered. So what I do is I would kind of layer them, pre-layer them as such. And then go in, mark it with your fingers, and then just lop all of them off at once. That way you have them already staggered and ready to roll that simple loop there at the top. And so when you grab one, what you can do is you can actually go ahead and bend that wire if you want to, which I will on this, and then go in and start rolling. These loops don't have to be super big, so if you make them on the smaller size, that is perfectly fine. The deeper you go into your pliers, your round nose pliers, the larger that loop will be. Okay, it's still a little bit too much, so I'm going to just cut this right off. And okay, that is not my prettiest loop that I've ever made. I think I didn't roll it quite all the way in. Okay, there we go. I needed to just adjust a thing. Sometimes that happens. Um, and so whenever I've got my longest flower now that I've made, and I'm actually going to go ahead and just use the flowers that I've made earlier for the rest of it, which you can see that they're all staggered sizes. And what I'm going to do is this flower is pointing directly down, and I really want it to be pointing out. So I'm just going to use my chain nose pliers to kind of bend that stem just so that the flower sticks out and you can see that beautiful jewel right inside. So now all I have to do is just layer these guys on into my simple loop. So you'll open up that simple loop and then just start to string all three of your flowers right on and then push it back. Now, at this point, you'll want to kind of take a look at it, make any adjustments. If something is off by a lot, now is the time to make and adjust for that. Um, and the best way to do that is also just to compare it to your previously made earring if you've already made one, which actually this looks pretty identical. So I'm not mad about it. And so I'm just going to leave it. But if you need to cut your flower stem shorter or you need to stagger your little bridge a little bit more so that, they all kind of line up similarly, you could definitely do that. Endless possibilities for sure. So at this point, I'm just going to grab my earring wire and then I'm going to try and pass this through my jump ring as such. Okay, I'm going to open this up. There we go. And then just close it back up. It's a little bit of a tight fit, but I think it needs to kind of stay at the top anyway. What's nice is that the knits prevent the jump ring from moving around too much anyway, which works really well for this format and design. But there it is, you guys. Like, just some radical, fun earrings that have an unexpected shape and design. But there is nothing basic about it, let me tell you that. All right, let's take a look at the final photo one more time. And I just want to say a huge thank you for watching and joining in for this class. I hope this leaves you inspired and energized and eager to try something new with pipe chain. Again, if you enjoy the content on this channel, please give this video a big thumbs up. Tell your creative friends about it and subscribe to the channel if you want to see even more from SilverSilk and more. You can do your shopping at silversilkonline.com for these project materials, except for the beads, which came again from jessiejamesbeads.com. And you can follow me on Instagram as well. And you could find us over in the SilverSilk Silkies Facebook community for inspiration from our community out there with SilverSilk. These folks love to use it. They come up with some creative projects, ideas, and gets me invigorated and eager to try new things as well with SilverSilk. So until next time, I guess I'll see you at the next tutorial, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye, everyone.